Welcome, managers, mistresses, and widows, to episode 558 of an Unearthly Podcast. 559. I fixed everything except the number of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 27th of June, 2026, and featuring the Ninth Doctor Adventures Fond Farewell, written by David K. Barnes and starring Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and with me are Alex Fyrehart.
Hello.
And Aaron RomeoMoon Burke.
Hello.
How's everybody's week going?
Well, a chair collapsed on me yesterday.
Oh,
Well, technically, I guess this morning, like,
on you or under you?
under me. Like, I don't even know if I was like leaning back in it necessarily. At least not like up on its, I guess, hind legs, for lack of a better way to put it, or anything necessarily. I was playing the Warhammer 40k game, Dawn of War 1. I'd finished a battle, leaned back a bit, and just one one of the legs just gave, and the whole chair went. Thankfully, I tucked my chin in, so I didn't bang the back of my head. My tailbone's a little sore, but not like debilitating or anything like that. Like, it's just, at worst, it's probably like bruised a bit, but it's nothing. Like, I can feel it at the moment, but again, it's not like, as I joked to someone, it's more that my pride was hurt than my body. I mean, thankfully there was no one there to see it because it's happened at like around midnight. But it was just like, well, that happened. Because I have to use dining room chairs, and it was like a wooden chair. So that's probably why my tailbone hurts at all.
I can see that.
Ironically, it being like a four-legged, just standard chair is probably also why I didn't just fling right back and bang my head on the floor. It sort of kind of collapsed in on itself first, and then I fell back. So that like gave me time to prepare for the fall. As opposed to like if a computer chair had given out underneath me, I probably would have gone flying backwards without much reaction time, I feel.
Right.
So thankfully that was not as bad as it could have been. And aside from that, I got a bunch of cleaning done yesterday because I decided, oh, well, it's rain. Like, at first it was like, oh, it's raining. So I don't, or at least it's been raining lately. I don't really feel like going on a walk when my shoes are going to end up just absolutely soaked through. Especially because these are like, at this point, it's getting to a point where I need to get new shoes, but like, I don't really have the money to put down on a decent pair. Not necessarily like a super expensive pair, but even a decent pair that'll last me a couple of years would still be about $200. So, especially with my size that I need. So I was like, well, I haven't used the rowing machine in forever because my shoulder used to play up a lot. And because I've been off work for like almost over like a month and a half, I realized, well, my shoulder's probably fine enough now that I can start using it again. So just while I had stuff in the washing machine, I just started that, and then I realized there's a lot of crap around this. I need to just clean this space up. So because like a lot of it was like either packages that I'd never taken, like ripped the like address and stuff off to like rip up into little pieces and throw out and do whatever I was going to do with the cardboard, which I think for the most part I ended up just recycling, which ended up being a bit awkward because I usually kept like a bit of cardboard to put onto one of the table legs because they're a bit uneven. And I realized after the fact that I'd chucked that, and I was like, oh well, just have to wait for for another one. And then after doing all that, was just like using the rowing machine a bunch to the point that by the time I went for a shower later, I was like, oh wow, I'm actually really hungry now because I've actually been physically exerting myself a decent amount today. So that was kind of nice. I was surprised I didn't go to bed like early. But at that point, I'd been doing that and sorting out laundry and all this other shit that like I was surprised. It was like it was getting to like late afternoon by the time I actually got on the computer, which was kind of surprising for me. um Although to that end, I was using my phone instead to just have YouTube on in the background while I was doing stuff.
Right.
So by the end of it, after getting out of the shower, I was realizing, oh shit, my phone's at like 20%. I should probably charge it. But yeah, getting close to the end of the DLC campaign thingy that I'm doing in Dawn of War 1, because I fell off playing it for a while because ADHD and then came back to it. So I've like almost finished like the final expansion, and then once I've done a playthrough of that, I'll be moving on to Dawn of War 2, I think. Unless I decide to get back into streaming like really soon, in which case I've figured I might like do an on-stream playthrough of all of Dawn of War 1 and then go into it. Go into the sequel. Which will be interesting because from what I understand, they play very differently.
Yeah.
I forget if it was that from what I understand, they simplify things a bit in that like in the first game, every faction that you can play as by the end of it plays differently in the first one. But from what I understand, if it's not in the second one, it's maybe the third one. They end up they end up simplifying things, so they kind of all play the same in a way. At least in terms of they don't have like unique ways that they work or something like that. But yeah. Aside from that, I've just basically been trying to make sure that every time I need to get groceries, I just walk because there's like a shopping, like a supermarket within walking distance just to get some exercise. So
Right.
that's been about it for me.
I'm thinking about buying a walking pad because it's so hard to convince myself to
Mm.
exercise when it's above 80 degrees outside. So I'm like,
Yeah.
if I can, get something that'll get me to walk while I'm using my computer, I'll be a lot more active.
Mm.
I even
Yeah.
even today's I kept saying all week, I'm like, don't listen to it on the computer because I want to take a walk and
Mm.
listen to it. And then just one thing after another. I should have listened like in the beginning of the week I had time because uh first I hung out with a colleague and ended up getting a sunburn, and then the next day I got a haircut. But both of them I was like, I really am trying to get in, a good amount of steps this month, so I need to take walks later in the month. And then I
Mm.
ended up just being super tired. I was telling Aaron, I think my problem is I've I've been going to sleep when I'm tired, but the downside of that is my circadian rhythm is broken and thinks I'm just supposed to be asleep all the time now. So like I need to just stick to a schedule and stay awake even when I'm tired. and go to
Mm,
sleep even if I'm not tired, even though like a sleep expert will be like, if you're tired, go to sleep. And I'm like, my circadian rhythm has decided that is bad
mm,
advice. Maybe ADHD related.
yeah,
It probably is.
yeah.
Um,
Like I did try to get my sleeping habits reorganized by like gradually getting to bed later and later and later. It ended up being that I was accidentally awake for over 24 hours at one point, not by much, but
mhm.
and even then I only got 6 hours sleep, so I was like, well, that's odd. The last time I was up that late, I slept for like 12 to 14 hours, but like that kind of continued for a bit. And now it's basically back to what it was before I tried doing that, so I've just given up.
Right. How about you, Aaron? Anything of interest?
Um, I've actually had a lot of stuff going on. I've got I've been working on getting some VTuber models up and running for the Twitch channel. So I've been using a pink catgirl VTuber model for a while now, and she kind of replaced an old purple one that I had, and so I revamped my purple one. And then also created another character, a gremlin type character who um, uh, is kind of cool looking, kind of more gothy, streetwise kind of looking. So now I've got three VTuber characters. I've got the voice. I've reinstalled voice mod, which I stopped using because it was interfering with my Discord phone call with my
Uh,
Discord calls. I was having issues connecting with them and stuff. But now the voice mod now seems to be working pretty well with a lot of the software that I use. So I'm gonna start using that. I started posting vlogs. I've created like little bedroom like or I generate through AI different like little bedroom scenes and stuff like with like a sunrise in the windows or a cloudy day or something like that. And so they'll be doing their own little vlogs and stuff. So yeah, and those have been kind of popular too on TikTok, so I need to get them up on YouTube and Instagram. So, but I've been working on all that, just getting the models up and running in Vroid, and then doing streams. And I'm going back to work on Monday, so I'm trying to get all this stuff done before I get back to work. On top of trying to get laundry and like house cleaning and decluttering done, I've got a bunch of stuff from my parents' house that I need to go through, a bunch of like compact discs and DVDs and comic books and old toys and everything that I kind of rescued and like, oh, I'll go through these on my own time and throw them out if they're not worth anything and give them away and whatnot. So, and I haven't done anything hardly. I went through a couple of bookshelves and that was it, or bookcases, I should say, and that was it. And I still have a ton of books and everything. So, I don't know. On top of that, Moo seems to be becoming sensitive to the the newer food that I picked up, this Italian food that they both Moo and Cloud love for cat food, and unfortunately, it seems to have given Moo some diarrhea. So because they both eat the hell out of it. So, but he also it might have like some dried chicken in it too that he's sensitive to. So because I don't think he can have chicken, but yeah. Oh yeah, and also yesterday my boyfriend and I, Chris, went to Onokain Grinds, which is a Hawaiian restaurant in Wauwatosa. So I got to try mocha loca for the first time.
Okay.
It's a very heavy food. It's basically a burger patty with an egg on top of sticky rice, with
Oh,
gravy on top of that. So it's pretty intense, but it was very delicious. Yeah, but that's kind of pretty much what's been going on with me. What about you, Bill?
uh, I think I covered everything there. That and yeah, oh yeah, we're also at our 15 minutes.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I don't have not much more time for it.
Nothing
Let's
to
go
worry about
on.
here.
Yep. In tonight's show, we have our birthdays and news. Not a ton of news, and as far as I could tell, no lost stories, but we've got some interviews to talk about.
Mhm.
Then we've got one item in Geek Talk. Then Alex will grace us with our episode summary, and then we'll have our episode review, final thoughts, and ratings.
Hmm.
So moving on to birthdays. On the 14th of June, we have Julia Joyce, who played Rose Tyler as a baby in Father's Day, and Holly Frobisher in Torchwood Children of Earth, turned 28. On the 16th of June, we have Simon Williams, who played Group Captain Chunky Gilmore in Remembrance of the Daleks, and the Big Finish Countermeasures series, turned 47. Also on the 16th of June, we have Carol Ann Ford, who played Susan Campbell, originally Foreman, from 63 to 64. And again in 1983, plus work for Big Finish, turned 86.
Oh, yeah, and we don't have her cameo in 2025.
Mm. On the 17th of June, we have Jodie Whittaker, who played the 13th Doctor from 2018 to 2022, plus work for Big Finish, turned 44. On the same day, also on the 17th of June, we have Arthur Darvill, who played Rory Williams from 2010 to 2012, plus work for Big Finish, also turned 44. So exactly the same age. On the 19th of June, we have Millie Gibson, who played Ruby Sunday in 2023 to present, has turned 22. I forgot she was that young. Like, I knew she was in her 20s, but I forgot she was that young.
Yeah.
So she might have legitimately been 19 when she was originally recording her stuff. Filming her stuff, I mean. Moving on from that, on the 23rd of June, we have Caitlin Blackwood, who played Amy Pond as a child from 2012 to 2011. 2010 to 2011, sorry. Turned 26. And going by the image we have, yeah, she really has like grown up to look like she could be a body double for her cousin. On the 24th of June, we have Yasmin Page, who played Maria Jackson in Sarah Jane Adventures from 07 to 08, turned 35. So wow, she's just a year younger than me. Bloody hell. On the 25th of June, we have Sheridan Smith, who plays the 8th Doctor audio only companion Lucy Miller from 2007 to 2011, and again in 2019 plus short trips, turned 45. And finally, also on the 25th of June, we have Lucy Benjamin, who played Nissa as a child in The Mordred Undead, turned 56. So happy birthday to Julia, Simon, Carol, Jodie, Arthur, Millie, Caitlin, Yasmin, Sheridan, and Lucy. Very woman-heavy birthdays this time, which I don't think happens much. Like, it probably has happened. I've just never noticed it before, but it definitely happened this time. It was interesting.
Especially since a lot of the crew have traditionally been men.
Right.
So if you know, there's maybe a balance in front of the camera, but behind it, there's usually not. Moving from there, we go on to cast and crew interviews as well as another interview. So to start with, Stephen Moffat recently spoke to the Radio Times about Day of the Doctor's process and what role Christopher Eccleston would have played. There's been a lot of kind of speculation and talking about it, but this is kind of Moffat being explicit about it. So Eccleston was initially open to the possibility of returning, but he eventually declined, basically kind of summarizing what the Radio Times has said. They had spoken beforehand, and Eccleston basically said that he would think about it, but there was a good chance he was going to decide not to do it. And then about 2/3 of the way through the script, Eccleston then went to Moffat and decided that he was not going to. So he said he was very gentlemanly about it and was lovely, but it was a pain. So basically, it's more or less the War Doctor's role, at least narrative, maybe not literally, but from a narrative perspective, the point of view character would have been the Ninth Doctor instead of the War Doctor.
Mm.
And that otherwise would have been largely the same story. And then he also said things. He said it was quite funny because David was saying, "I'm just a comic relief," and Matt's saying, "Why has David got all the jokes?" And I'm saying, guys, you're sharing the part, you're sharing it. He says, and then I had to come up with this idea of the other doctor, this unknown doctor from history, which I think was a good idea. You're tweaking every last thing, and you're able to see is everything you weren't able to correct. So I don't know if he had to come up with that idea. I'm pretty sure he could have called
Right.
Paul and said, "Do you want to come?"
Yeah.
But sure, you had to come up with that idea. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Actually,
Which,
let me
I
just
mean,
double check to
it
see if the
does.
word Paul does not appear in this article.
Which is funny because it does make you wonder, like, did he even consider calling Paul McGann, or like, was it a matter of, oh, well, the way I'd written it was that McGann does this little webisode where he regenerates, and it was
Right.
supposed to be into Eccleston, which, honestly, I don't think that webisode would have worked. Because if he turned into Eccleston, because like the whole bit seemingly with like Eccleston seeing what his face looks like in Rose is very, he had just never seen what this incarnation looked like.
Right.
So not necessarily that he hadn't been that face for very long, so much as just he'd never actually just stopped to look in a mirror.
Yeah.
Which at least made it seem like fresh, but not like necessarily like literally right before that story.
Yeah. So from that perspective, I
Um,
think having Eccleston and Day as a Doctor would not have worked out best.
hmm,
Whether I mean they may it does it, I kind of wish that that had even been a topic of discussion, but yeah,
hmm,
they may have been concerned over rights issues with Paul McGann. I don't know because of the whole U.S. side of things. But if so, they don't say it
hmm,
here, so I can't. It's hard to kind of
yeah,
say for certain.
yeah. Like, I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if like maybe because like yeah, you basically if it wasn't Eccleston, it basically would have had to have been Paul McGann, and like,
I mean, it was neither of them. So
well, yeah. I'm just saying, like if you were using a pre-existing Doctor rather than
right,
making one up, like it would have had to have been Paul McGann, really. And like the funny thing is like Night of the Doctor could have still kind of worked, where it's just him, like the backstory of like, okay, I've got to technically become a new Doctor without outright dying. Like maybe rather than the regeneration thing, they just give him something that'll just prevent the death
interesting.
or something like that. I don't know. Like you could have just tweaked it so he wasn't technically dying, but like him having the realization that okay, I've got to stop running from this. I've got to just go against
Right.
everything I stand for and actually fight in this conflict. Of course, the irony is, if you could convince Paul McGann to get in the wig again, you could have just had it that the difference is he goes from having the longer hair to the short hair.
They were not going to be able to successfully do that.
Right.
Our next interview, this one is also from Radio Times, and I think the interview was with them. So Peter Capaldi, of course, he left the show at the same time as Stephen Moffat. So I don't think any of us really questioned his decision to leave. We did kind of place it in context, and say, well, in classic Who, there was usually a lot more carryover, whereas in modern Who, the Doctor seems to often leave with the showrunner. But we weren't surprised. But Peter Capaldi has recently had an interview about. It was an interview for 100 Questions with Tom Simons about why he decided to stop playing the Doctor. So he said, I just wasn't sure that it was going in the direction that something. Everybody was leaving that I'd worked with. Jenna had gone, and Steven was going, and Brian, the producer, was going. And those are the people that make it work for you. We'd had some talks about the direction, so this means the direction that Chris Chibnall wanted to take the show. I wasn't sure that was where I wanted to go with the show, and I also thought I'm not sure I could come up with anything new. And I think I could see how 3 years of frequently reinventing the character, he may have run out of new ways to play the character at that point.
Right.
Capaldi also spoke about the the rest with the regeneration scene, and kind of he talks a bit about regenerations themselves and about the concept of regeneration. I said, to be perfectly honest, I think there are too many regenerations. I love all the Doctors, but I've lost count now of how many of them there are. So the weight of this kind of regeneration is diminished. Whereas when I grew up as a kid, the first time it happened, it was, what just happened there? It was mysterious and strange. It holds the mystery of the show, the regeneration. And then kind of talks about how it doesn't really happen on any show, and it's kind of a unique thing to Doctor Who. And yeah, kind of talks about how big the show has become. So now the rest of the article is just kind of citing past interviews.
Yeah, basically going on about the issues of scale, and about how it's like, which is funny because it's like he could mean like the show in general, or he could also be talking about like the threats the Doctor has to face as well.
I think he
how
means
vague that is.
more on
But
the
yeah,
real world
the
side
thing
of
of that.
things. But yeah, that
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
It's funny because in the overall landscape of media, Doctor Who is arguably smaller than it was in the 70s, because it had a monopoly on kind of British sci-fi more. Like, there were other things, but like every
Yeah.
British sci-fi fan was watching Doctor Who in the 70s, and I can't say for
Right.
certain that's the case nowadays. Just because there's
Right,
so
right.
much more out there. So even though the
Yeah.
budgets are getting bigger, the productions are getting bigger, on a share of the market scale, it's getting ever smaller, just because of the nature of media and the internet age.
Yeah. And like I can get his point in it so far as like the responsibility of playing the role is a lot bigger now, because like especially at his age, because he wasn't exactly a young man when he took on the role.
Yeah.
And now you've got to suddenly do all of these convention appearances and all these interviews and blah. Whereas now, post show, like post his like run as the Doctor, like he can still do like convention appearances, but he can be a bit more picky.
Yeah, and that's the thing
Like
too.
he doesn't
There were a
have
lot
to.
fewer conventions in the 70s and such.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like at most you would have been doing like public appearance, like like
The
I think the
farthest
only
he would
thing
have had to go from London was Glasgow.
yeah, like I mean hell, like I know they must have done press conferences each time, because they talk about how like Tom Baker didn't own a suit, so they had to grab him one for the press conference to announce him as the fourth Doctor. But like I don't think you hear much about any other like publicity he had to do. Like there would have been, but I don't know how much. Especially like when did the Doctor Who magazine start? because I guess he might have done interviews for that if that was around during his run. Because I think that started in the 80s, but I don't know if that
Yeah,
was like late enough that.
I think Peter Capaldi might have been president of the fan club at that time, 1979.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, he would have been the Doctor when that started. So he might have done like interviews for that, but even then, that's still pretty minimal.
Hmm.
Of course, by
I will say
contrast, you've got
the
like
losing track of how many doctors just makes it sound more like he's an old man than anything
hmm,
about the show.
I mean, the kind of irony is that the show being so like, no, we have to show the regeneration each time, is something that's mocked in like a behind the scenes thing for the war games where there's like a little thing where they talk about each regeneration and how some of the writers for New Who at the time say that like we never even discussed the idea of showing a regeneration from 8 to 9 because like it had been so either overdone or just by the end of it kind of just really weirdly handled that they were like, we'll just start with a new guy and whatever. Like they didn't feel like they had to, whereas it
which
felt like
which
by the
is
end
why it
classic they
wasn't
had to.
until the Matt Smith era, like I remember hearing like in retrospect that some people were still arguing that that Christopher Eccleston was not the ninth Doctor, that he was 10th or 11th or something else, which actually is doubly funny in light of Day of the Doctor.
Yeah,
Um, Obviously, like the Moffat era kind of drove, hammered
mm,
in the fact that he was the 11th Doctor, and then turned around at
right.
the end and was like, actually, he wasn't.
Yeah, like not only have we retconned in the War Doctor, but Moffat also went, yeah, that fake out in Journey's End actually counts.
Hmm. I mean, more like, like there
um,
was the whole art, like, does the Shulka Doctor count? Does this
yeah,
other
yeah,
thing count? And then, of
yeah.
course, now that's even more of a thing by the most recent series being like, oh yeah, and
Right.
who was it? Was it Richard? Yeah, it was Richard E. Grant that they added
Yeah,
in, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I mean, RTD has said that was purely an Easter egg. Like he's not like which I think he basically means if you want it to be canon, it is. If you don't, you can ignore
Which we
it.
can't ignore it because it was on screen. So I don't know
Well,
what
yeah,
that
like
means, but
yeah, but basically it was like it was purely in there as an Easter egg, like which it's Russell, he could be trolling, but I remember him specifically saying, yeah, that was just kind of there as a nod. It wasn't necessarily saying that he's canon, even though it's Doctor Who, so people are
it
going to treat
wasn't
it as
something that we
canon.
were thinking through. It was just something we put there for the sake of putting it there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Our final interview, and this is outside of the Doctor Who cast, but this is kind of this is the Star Trek showrunners kind of talking about what they had tried to work out with RTD. Now that kind of the RTD era is past, and any possible things would be starting fresh. Star Trek. This was brought by Cultbox. Star Trek: Strange New World co-runners Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonso Myers discussed how they spent years in discussions with RTD working on a Doctor Who Star Trek crossover. Now, some people might remember we've covered on here the fact that there were things like the TARDIS showing up in one or two scenes of Strange New Worlds. There were
Hmm.
some mobile game crossovers. Has anybody been watching Strange New Worlds? It's I think
No.
I don't have Paramount Plus, so and they're kind of on the
Second season, but I never got to seeing any other subsequent seasons.
okay. Uh, so they're saying from their perspective, even though they can't canonize it, someone named the chief engineer Pelia traveled into TARDIS. Okay, they did mention actually on screen having spent time with a time traveling doctor.
Mm.
Mm.
So they kind of hinted at crossover canon. There was also a line in Space Babies kind of hinting at visiting Star Trek, whatever that
Hmm.
could mean, timey
Yeah.
wimey. But
Yeah.
nothing actually materialized into a full blown crossover like they wanted it to. Um,
Hmm.
this is not the first time. I don't think it's even the second time that this has been attempted. I think they
Hmm.
tried that during the Tom Baker era. I know for a fact they tried it during the Eccleston
Maybe.
era. So they
Yeah.
tried it again here during the Gatwa era.
Hmm.
Maybe
And of
maybe it'll
course,
happen in our lifetime.
yeah, and of course, in comic book form, there was a crossover where it was basically like Matt Smith's Doctor, Amy and Rory interact with I forget if it was, I forget which specific Star Trek cast they interact with, but they interact with that, and it's like Cybermen meet the Borg kind of a thing.
Hmm. So yeah, so this is not a new idea. This was the most recent attempt. And probably like tensions between different studios kind of shot it down. But hopefully, I mean, I wouldn't trust the current owners of Paramount to make any good decisions at this point.
Right.
But maybe in our lifetime, something will happen.
Yeah, I
Especially
would like to
given,
see it.
yeah, like especially given who they're trying to court, it'll be kind
Yeah.
of a miracle if
Mhm.
uh Doctor Who
Well, yeah,
um
Doctor Who is like the farthest thing the owners of Paramount would want to think
yeah.
about right now. So
Yeah.
is Star
Like,
Trek for that matter, but they
right,
kind
yeah.
of, it's kind, from a Paramount perspective, it's often the cash cow. So,
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of have to leave it alone begrudgingly.
mhm. Moving from interviews to our next set of news, which is the Big Finish news. We have three releases in the past 2 weeks. The first is Dark Gallifrey, The Meddling Monks, Part 3, written by John Dorney, starring Colin Baker as the Doctor, with Rufus Hound and Gemma Whalen. That was on June 16, if I didn't say that. Then on June 23, we had Rutans vs. Centaurans, Grave Moon, written by Lizzie Hopley, starring Colin Baker and Paul McGann as the Doctor, and Nicola Bryant as Perry. And the cover doesn't say who the Centauran is. I probably should have checked that. Might be Dan Starkey. I'm not sure. And then on June 25, Gallifrey War Room 3 Loyalties, written by Georgia Cook, Catherine Armitage, Theo Trethaway, and Matt Fitton, starring Louise Jameson as Leela and Lala Ward as Romana. And that is the end of our news. For Geek Talk this week, I didn't technically play this because I really need to practice on beating some of the secret bosses in earlier chapters. But Deltarune Chapter 5 came out, and I've absorbed about 25 or more hours of playthroughs of this chapter and wanted to talk about it a little bit for anybody who's not sure, on the fence about playing it or what have you. Of course, this is chapter 5, continuing off the first four chapters. This chapter is free if you bought the first four chapters, so presumably, most people already know if they're playing it or not. Um, but kind of the general tone of the chapter, this was marketed as basically one last lighthearted adventure before everything gets dark and serious toward the end game. And also, I would kind of say this is the nostalgia chapter. There's a lot of themes. There's two main themes of this chapter, and I'm trying to speak about them without explicit spoilers, but there's, some, depending on how blind you want to go into it. The two main themes are kind of unrequited love or even just kind of romance in general, because there's also requited romance, uh, and nostalgia. So there's nostalgia for the player. Um, there's nostalgia for the characters, both toward callbacks to past games and past chapters. There's callbacks to histories of the characters' lives, from before the game started. Lots of nostalgia, lots of themes about dealing with the past and dealing with nostalgia. Lots of character moments. I know a lot of people are upset that kind of like the big secret lore, the prophecy and stuff were not heavily dealt with here. I'll say I think some of them missed some of the secrets, that there's more to that. But generally, that wasn't the point here. The main point was character moments, themes involving character growth, and preparing for the last few chapters. As for gameplay, the three main games I've seen, obviously it's continuing off of Deltarune, but with the new sections and the new gameplay, the three things I've mainly seen it compared to, where there were sections that I've seen people compared to Hollow Knight, there were sections I've seen people compare to Celeste, and then it was, I think, Super Paper Mario Bros. If that's the name of the Wii game. So, um, if you've played it, I've not played any of those, but I figure that's easier than that's probably less of a spoiler than me actually going out and describing the gameplay sections. So this is definitely the chapter that makes a lot of Undertale callbacks, and makes a lot of Chapter 1 callbacks. If you're kind of more in this for theorizing than story, you're going to be upset. But if you're enjoying taking the story in as it goes, it's really fun. Really enjoyable chapter. Lots of replayable scenes, and in the dialogue trees. So I don't necessarily know how easy it is to replay the whole chapter, but there's definitely scenes that you're going to want to go back and replay in different ways. Lots of branching paths to explore. So yeah, that's Deltarune Chapter 5. I've been enjoying consuming it, and hopefully I will get good enough at the game to actually catch up and play it before Chapter 6 comes out.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's it for Geek Talk. Oops, I put it under television streaming by accident, but whatever. In fact, nobody would have known that if I hadn't just said it out loud. All right, on to Alex with the summary.
Yep.
I should. Are you gonna have the stopwatch, Bill, or
Yep, I can do the one in Canva.
okay?
Ready for a countdown?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
We open on the Doctor making it to the funeral of Professor Flynn Beckett, someone he had an off-screen adventure with, only for the man to seemingly walk out in front of them. The Doctor meets up with Sasha Yan, a woman who was Flynn's assistant during said off-screen adventure, and finds out what's going on. They're at a place called Fond Farewell, where the dead can have their minds put into a temporary body, a synthetic body, to allow one last goodbye. Everything seems otherwise fine till the Doctor realizes Flynn has no memory of him or Sasha. Suddenly, the synthetic attendant, controlled by one of the synthetic attendants, controlled by an AI called Thomas, starts losing control. One killing a guest and another attempting to kill Flynn, his wife Idara, and the rest of the funeral guests after finding the first body and trying to leave, locking themselves in the room the wake is meant to take place in for safety. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Sasha, who have since found that first body as well, confront Winifred Whitby, the woman running this facility for Fond Farewell, who they trick into believing they're doing a surprise inspection to convince her to let the Doctor help out, with the Doctor hooking himself up to the nerve center of the facility once Winifred takes him down to see it. While the funeral guests and Sasha and Winifred are separately trying to avoid the malfunctioning attendants, the Doctor manages to find Flynn's lost memories within the AI, within the center, like the the nerve center. Coming back to proper consciousness with the attendants all suddenly stopping their attacks. The doctor, Sasha, and Winifred all go to the guests, with the doctor revealing he figured out that Flynn's wife Adara was the one who had the missing memories intentionally removed, and that because it turns out that he had cheated on her, and as Sasha implies, probably wasn't the first time. And that Flynn's sheer force of will from the parts of him that were still in Thomas, because that's how that works, is what was causing the malfunctions and for the synthetic attendants to go apeshit. Flynn leaves the decision of whether to not to reunite the memories up to Adara, who ends up relenting. The doctor then says goodbye to Sasha before being approached by Winifred, who thanks him for the help. After Adora storm passes them both, Winifred asks the doctor if he thinks Adara and Flynn made their peace before they were permanently separated again, with the doctor lamenting that he's the wrong person to ask before finally leaving in the TARDIS. The end.
All right, you got 3 minutes, 11 seconds.
I guess the one little bit that's more of that I kind of skimmed over that's more of a setup for that at the end was just the fact that the doctor talks about wanting to visit someone that he's overdue a visit to, which would
is
be
just
set up
kind of
set
lead
up for
into
next
the next
time.
story.
Yeah.
Which
That's probably
the
why I
wiki
left it out.
spoiled me as to who the friend would be, but
Well, I mean, it's on the cover of the box set as well, if I remember
okay.
right. So it's kind of a general thing.
Oh well, if that's, I hope I didn't include autons that I thought were supposed to be android attendants. I don't.
No, I think that's from the specific fond farewell thingy,
Oh,
because they
okay.
all, like, each individual story has its own thing, and then the
Oh,
box set
gotcha.
I think has its own
Then why were there
image, if I remember
dinosaurs?
right.
It's because the dinosaur, that's the adventure that he goes on with this professor dude.
Oh, okay.
Remember, they say that, oh, that's not a dinosaur. That's actually, this rare, almost extinct species. And then they're like, oh, screw it. It's dinosaurs. Because they look just like
Gotcha.
dinosaurs. Because he's a conservationist, I believe, right?
I
Uh,
know he exposes businesses for malpractice or something.
Yeah, he exposes
hmm.
businesses for malpractice
Who's a
because they're
He's a
destroying the
naturalist.
environment
Wait,
that's leading
I
to
thought a
these.
naturalist was a nudist.
That's naturist.
Ah,
I ought to know because my neighbor even has a flag for it. There's a flag for everything now.
I'm like, wait a second. If he was a nudist, I messed up on the title card, but that's okay because I want YouTube to accept it. All right, Aaron, what did you like about this story?
Alright, let me get to my likes here. I actually like quite a few things. See. I kind of like what kind of struck me is the fact that Sasha's actually kind of a sympathetic person. She's not like this bitchy other woman who's like, "Oh yeah, I'm so much better than the wife" and all that stuff. Like she actually is concerned about the wife kind of hating her and about the awkwardness of the whole situation and about the uncomfortable truth that this dude just doesn't love his wife anymore, and that she's kind of
Hmm.
basically collateral damage along with the implosion of this marriage that's going on. So, and I like how she is kind of sympathetic. She's basically, the doctor's kind of one episode companion-ish type friend who he
Right.
Hmm.
goes through all this dire trouble with. She kind of helps
He
him out.
even was asking her, well, normally my companions say, try to talk me out of it. Why aren't you doing that?
I
Hmm.
don't understand what you saw in you. It's like, oh, my gentle nature. Which is kind of like a jab at the professor because like it sounds like the professor was taking advantage of her gentle nature
Mm.
and that like with the idea that she wouldn't have the backbone to confront the his wife about it or tell his wife about what happened. So
Hmm.
which kind of gives that kind of a dark twist too. So I actually liked Sasha as a character. Like I felt like, she was a good person that just got caught up, with the wrong person. So,
Okay. So we got Sasha. Alex, what did you like?
I like the fact that like the kind of I mean, it's not really a twist, but like the fact that everyone's assuming, oh, it's just some kind of like corporate sabotage going
Mm-hmm.
on. And then it turns out to be like, no, it was just like his wife doing something that ultimately backfired in a way she didn't see coming.
Yeah.
um, because like she does it, yeah, it's like you almost even think, or maybe like somehow the wife's in on it, maybe, and like or like whatever's going on of like, oh, she's trying to take him for all his somehow, I don't know. But like ultimately the fact that it's just like, no, she had like
Yeah, for a second I
understandable
thought the
reasons
wife was
ultimately.
like I thought the wife
Yeah.
was like working with with the company that he had exposed or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. But like the fact that it's ultimately just he cheated on me and I wanted a version of him that didn't remember that, and it just kind of went south without her necessarily intending this to be an outcome, makes it more interesting. And like it's understandable. It's like, yeah, like re-listening to it, I'm like, this is entirely your fault, lady. But she doesn't know that. Like when she's accusing like the doctor and Sasha, she's not really deflecting blame because
Someone
no
found
one
it.
knows what's because no one knows what's going wrong yet. Um, it's just like, yeah, like, and again, it's like it's kind of understandable. Like, while you don't agree with her like redacting these memories, you can still at least see where she's coming from
Mhm.
as the
Yeah.
grieving widow. Like, um, so like that's ultimately like that kind of turning it on its head to be like, well, actually, no, there wasn't some like
Yeah, there's a
dodgy
kind of an
corporation involved.
there's kind of an interesting thing there of like because she says that Sasha, like, oh, I forget what she said, but like, oh, she was like, he was your hero. You like saw like an idealized version of him, or like put him on a pedestal or something.
Mm,
But meanwhile, her whole thing is she wants a fake version of her husband
yeah,
who
yeah.
is better than he really was. So she
Mm,
wants that idealized hero version
yeah,
too.
yeah. Yeah. It's sort of, yeah, the whole thing of like all these people like it's like pointedly aimed at Sasha, but also just generally like everyone here is like putting him on a pedestal, but I know that he wasn't a perfect guy. Like he
Hmm.
cheated on me, and the implication from Sasha is that she wasn't the only one. So the idea of they'll have like their own perspectives of what he was like.
Right. Um, so I guess I'm gonna say I like the fact that this is almost it's like a Doctor Who meets Black Mirror sort of thing. Like the whole premise is
Hmm.
very Black Mirror. It's like we're gonna set up this, we're gonna use technology to make this fake version of your loved one that you can spend a
Hmm.
day with, and everything is going to go wrong because, of course, we prioritized making money rather than ethics because that's what people do. Um, and then, of course, it's Doctor Who, so people have to die, and it has to involve these
Mm.
other shenanigans. So I thought it was really interesting to kind of have a sort of story that would fit either franchise.
Yeah. Plus, it's Big Finish, so we don't get the Moffat style. Aha! They find a way to make it permanent.
Yes.
He
Which,
goes
No,
off
God,
turn
that
it.
would have been
to
so
another
annoying.
TARDIS
He
type
doesn't. He
thing.
doesn't. He doesn't sonic screwdriver a bunch of androids to resurrect everybody who was killed during the episode.
Yeah. Uh, like that only just occurred to me as we were talking about that.
All right, Aaron, what did you dislike about this story?
Okay, let's see here. I kind of it wound up being only the one guy. It only wound up being Flynn Beckett stuck inside the AI, right? I kind of
Oh,
wish
stuck
it.
inside the
Well,
android.
like
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's like there was, in terms of like memories and all that stored, the implication
Mhm.
is that there's more than one at the time that the Doctor has to kind of wade through to get to
Mhm.
him.
But
It's
the
just
only
that
one doing
those
the like
are,
"I'm still here"
yeah, yeah,
causing the
yeah. He,
breakdown was
yeah,
Flynn.
Okay.
he was the only one doing the "I'm still here" bit.
Okay. I kind of wish that there was like an aggressive, like a lot more people who were like kind of stuck in there, so that it felt like
Hmm.
like an actual threat. With the
Mhm.
one dude, it didn't feel like it was like powerful enough to really cause as much damage as it did. I kind of felt like it would have been a lot more
Yeah.
interesting if it was almost like a zombie thing where, all these
Hmm.
somewhat dead people, all these like memories and consciousness of these dead people were just kind of floating around inside this AI that had become this like amalgam of all these people. So, which would have
Yeah,
meant
Hmm.
for a
that he would
sec.
have had to fight the AI and not just the one person.
For a
Yeah.
second, I thought they were gonna say like, oh, they were gonna be like, oh yeah, we tell people it's deleted, but actually we're keeping all these consciousnesses in case there's a
Mhm.
way we could sell their data, or anything like that.
Yeah, or we could use
And then
them for
that.
compute to boost computing power and stuff of like that for the
Mhm.
AI. So,
Oh no, it's the Matrix on Gallifrey, except with human technology.
Because yeah,
yeah.
like as
So,
much as the,
mhm,
I get where you're coming from, because the explanation of basically this one guy's will was
mhm,
somehow strong enough to push through and cause all these issues is a bit odd, when you could
yeah,
just have it be that like the AI is struggling to maintain all of this.
mhm. Yeah, like I feel like the dude didn't have the will to maintain his marriage, so I don't think he has the will to take down the AI structure.
Right.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess the idea is this is the first time someone's memories had been split. The implication is this is the first time the memories have been split off in this
Mhm.
way, like to
Hmm.
this degree, because it's like they cut several months out. But even then, it is still like, what makes this guy so special
Yeah.
that like his will is able to push through and cause all these issues?
I don't even know it's his will. It's just his
Mm,
like the chaos of it. He's just like I I'm
yeah.
not, only part of me is here, so I'm banging on
Mm,
everything, and somehow that
yeah.
just breaks everything apart.
I guess if the idea is like all the other like minds currently stored in there are very like at peace, and his is like
Mhm.
the only one where it's like, oh fuck, what the hell,
There was about
then there's
5 minutes
maybe
where I
that.
thought it was the master because of that, because I was like, oh, he's somehow the strongest mind in here.
Yeah, especially given that it's still just a human as
Yep.
well. It's kind of like, that's a that is a bit of a stretch where you could have had, Like, honestly, you could have even had a reveal that this isn't the only time this has happened. And that they forgot to get rid of the memories they were supposed to, like, hold on to. So there's just a bunch of different people who have had this happen to them, and that's just coalescing into this, and the doctor's able to calm them all down, get this one guy, get Flynn's memories back into his, and then they just jettison all the others. To be like, okay, we need to flush this out somewhat of all these memories that didn't get purged. And I guess, as even Aaron said, like, there's the idea of like all these minds going through this AI. You'd think they would have influenced the AI somewhat
Yeah.
to like give it a more distinct personality.
All right, Alex, what did you dislike?
Um, God, I feel like I had something, but it's kind of gone. I guess for the sake of something to say, I almost kind of wish there was more like commentary there, because there's not really much, because the story doesn't allow for a lot, but like the ethics of what they're doing don't really come up much. And like we don't, and to be fair, this is like what, a 45 minute story, so fair enough. We don't exactly have time to like really dig into it, but I don't know, it feels like, as much as like I thought the story was like all fine and everything, it just feels like there's something missing. And it's all I can think of is that it's like there's, it doesn't necessarily feel like there's an overall commentary. Like, yeah, like this thing is happening, but like the ethics of it aren't really gone into as much as they could be potentially, because this is only like a one-off. And to be fair, this, I don't think this is a story that would have benefited from being multiple parts unless it was like 2 half-hour parts. Rather
Or
than
like,
like,
or it could have been something like he went on another story with Sasha, and then this one,
right.
so you get to know her better or something.
Yeah, or even literally just if it had even been like a two-parter where we see that story, the story leading into this that never happens, where it's like
Right.
we meet Flynn first and then we skip to the funeral in the next part, kind of a thing. Or even like the ending of it is like at the funeral, and then the sort of cliffhanger is the welcome to my funeral bit,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But yeah, it's like, it's just, all I can think of is missing is just some of the commentary on it, especially because like, while I don't necessarily expect Winifred to get like a big talking to, because it's clear that she doesn't really know much of what's going on, she's just there to be a human overseer. it's it just feels weird that this very corporate thing doesn't really get a dressing down all that much by the doctor.
I mean,
But
yeah,
yeah.
he kind of says like you have to stop allowing this,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, it's like if this were David Tennant's doctor, there would kind of be at least this kind of implication that he's going to check in every couple months to make sure they're following that. But I don't know if we can necessarily assume that with
Right.
this doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for me, I think.
Okay, so mine, I'm gonna say, while I like the overall conceit of the story, I think it's undercooked. Kind of what you mentioned about like the lack of message, like, it's a bit shallow there, but just yeah, there's kind of too much in the way of coincidence, this is the first time that this has ever happened, even though it seems to be just a normal service that they're willing to do. But this guy, for some reason, had the strongest will, even though we don't have any reason to think he'd be the strongest willed person in the world. Uh, what else was there? I mean, yeah, just the fact that the one guy was overpowering everything. Um, yeah, it felt like it just could have used a few more rounds of revision. I like the overall idea, the right parts are there, but it felt undercooked.
Hmm.
All right, on to favorite scenes. And I probably this is Big Finish, so there probably will not be visuals for favorite and least favorite scenes. But
Hmm.
Alex, what was your favorite scene?
Oh, so we're not doing Aaron first in this
Oh,
case, or
sorry. Aaron
Sorry,
first.
we're off the hook.
You're right. It is
I
Aaron
mean,
first. I was
yeah. I mean, if you do want time to think, I can just go first
I
instead,
tried to go
Aaron.
off my memory, but my memory was bad.
But
Okay. I actually really like the way that they worked in the flashback for uh Flynn and the doctor running away from the bad guys, I
Hmm.
guess, and then the doctor using the sonic screwdriver to kind of call in the dinosaur monster to like scare away the bad guys and everything. So it felt
Hmm.
very much kind of like a Ninth Doctor adventure, kind of mixed with a little bit of the Fourth Doctor too, because it's just a couple of
Hmm.
random people that he meets that he kind of winds up helping out. And then, of course, a year later, he winds up at the one dude's funeral. So, and it also
Hmm.
kind of gives us keys into the relationship of dinosaurs, Sasha and Flynn, and and like what kind of just kind of the kind of people that they are. Like he's very obsessed with he's very driven with his thing with animals, and then she's also very into him. So, and obviously like kind of sees him as a hero figure, just like Idara says. So, um yeah, I think it all ties into the plot very well, and it doesn't feel like superfluous or like an info dump. It feels very natural.
Hmm.
See, maybe this is a result of me just listening to it once and being like at my desk when I was listening to it. But the whole time with the flashbacks, I was just like, okay, it's a flashback. Do we really need this? So just the complete opposite of what you just said.
It's actually Bill's worst scene.
Maybe I haven't gotten that far yet. All right, Alex, what's your favorite scene? For real this time.
I had another one, but then getting to the end of this again, I was like, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with this instead. So, specifically the line right at the end, where the Ninth Doctor says, "Sometimes I think I never have the answers. I only seem to keep pointing out the problems."
Mm.
Like, just that line, the delivery of it, that is very Ninth Doctor to me.
Yeah, that makes
Specifically,
sense.
because his whole thing is like,
Especially right
with all
after the
like,
war.
yeah,
Mhm.
um, and it's like it makes sense that this would have a more somber note to end on because of everything that went on. It's not really a happy ending. Um, so the fact that he kind of feels like, oh yay, I saved the day, but also this woman still hates me because of what I did.
Mhm.
Um, and all that. Like again, it's a matter of you can kind of understand where she's coming from, even though what she asked to have done is the reason any of this happened. But it's still like, yay, I saved the day, but also, you know, I can't really console this woman anymore. She's probably going to hate me forever and all that. So yeah.
I think I'm also going to go with a doctor moment for mine, and that is the scene where he's like, I forget the exact thing. He's like, I'm going to leave the decision up to you, but if you really want the last few moments with your actual husband, um, the actual person that you loved, then you need to restore his memories properly, and that will be the person because the one in front of you right now
Mm.
is not him.
Yeah, it's like he starts it with like, I'm not going to tell you how to feel,
Yeah.
but you know,
I'm going to tell
like
It,
you
it,
sort of
it's
how to feel.
mhm.
like
It's
I'm
really
not
kind of
yeah,
putting a
like I'm
cap
not going
on
to
that
tell you
whole
yeah.
the whole like knowing him versus idealizing him versus a fake version of him is like if you
Yeah.
actually want the last few moments with your husband, you need to not have this fake partial version of
Yeah.
him and have the real guy with the flaws and mistakes and fuck ups and everything else.
Mm. Yeah. And that is what ultimately convinces her cuz Flynn's basically deflected and been like, "No, it's not my choice whether this happens or not, it's hers."
Mhm. All
I will
right.
say
Okay.
like the other one that I would have gone with if I hadn't gone with that doctor quote was the bit where Winifred goes, "If I knew how the systems work, I wouldn't be in management." Just something about that line like really gets me.
Uh-huh.
It's like, yeah, true. If you knew how any of this worked, you probably wouldn't be in management.
Yep.
Too real, man.
Of course. When do you know when this came out?
uh God, good while ago. Um
2022. If this had even been written a year later, I could just imagine like there would have been a whole different statement intended by that. Because it's like
yeah.
now people are firing the people who know how the systems work and then paying money
Hmm.
for systems that don't work the way that they claim to.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess even directly during like the height of COVID, you could argue that that is a
The,
sentiment that
the
could have
AI
been
boom more or less started in
relevant.
2022 though.
Right. But I mean, like in like a general capitalism thing,
Yeah, the
that
general
still
capitalism
works.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm saying it would have had that extra meaning of
Right.
like
Right.
all of the stuff going on with technology nowadays if it had been written just a little bit later.
Hmm. Right. It's like especially, yeah, like especially if it was like a thing now.
All right, the right person this time. Aaron, what was your least favorite scene?
um, I did not like how I think you already mentioned it before, but like the whole I'm not going to tell you how to deal with this, but I'm going to tell you how
Eh,
to deal with this. I'm like, are you really leaving the crazed robots up to the wife? The
Hmm.
distressed widow? So it's just like, I think you should just, be like, no, we're ending this now.
okay, so you
Don't
think
even
there was
pretend.
too much risk in that decision to
Yeah,
possibly
it
leave
just
things as
didn't
they
make
were?
sense. Like, I know it's the Ninth Doctor and he's supposed to be like, I don't really care anymore. But, like, I think he would care a little bit about that.
Hmm. I mean, while it's never stated, thinking about it, my assumption is that like had she said no, the doctor probably would have instructed Thomas to jettison the memories.
Oh,
Just be like,
yeah.
Makes
right,
sense.
just wipe to avoid this happening again. Just wipe those memories right now.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Like, he would have pulled rank and just been like, right, get rid of those memories now so we don't have this shit happen again.
Or, I mean, he could have just, been passive aggressive about it and said, be like, Thomas, kill
Mm.
Flynn.
Possibly. I mean, this is the everybody has their time and everything has its time and everything dies doctor, so.
Mhm. All right, Alex, what's your least favorite scene?
I guess the let's see. I guess for lack of anything else, um the scene where the initial like person gets killed by an attendant, just because like the voice that's being put on is such like a comedically, almost you think he's going to turn out to be a villain old person voice,
Hmm.
that it just kind of like takes you out of the moment a little bit.
Fetch me my coat.
I
Fetch me, man. Yeah, it's like
I don't
I
know if
can't
it was
even
just me. I was
imitate it,
having
but
trouble with the voices in this story anyway.
like
Like Flynn's voice was just too similar to the doctor's that sometimes I had to
similar
stop and
accent,
listen
yeah.
to the scene to figure out which one it was.
He almost sounded like David Tennant in some scenes. I'm like, wait, did David Tennant pulling double duty or triple, quadruple duty?
um but yeah, like it's just like it's such like a comedy over the top, like, kind of almost kind of like the voice you would expect like an evil advisor to have in something. Just as like almost someone really badly trying to do a Palpatine voice, like a Darth Sidious voice, like the Emperor from Star Wars. They kind of like, and like I like legitimately until he died, I was thinking this guy's gonna turn out to be a villain or something, isn't he? And then like, no, he's like the first killed off, which is like at first I was almost gonna be
I mean,
like, oh, well,
sometimes that is the
that's a good
villain.
twist. Yeah, like at first I was like, oh, well, that's almost a good twist, but at the same time, it's like it's hard to take seriously because it's such a like hammy voice. And it's like, oh, you're breaking my arm, but it's like, again, very over the top. I can't even
What was his
recreate
Sean
it,
Connery?
but yeah. um, and like, yeah, it's just so like, it's just kind of overblown to the point that it's like, I don't know. I feel like we could have used with more like a more realistic old person sounding voice for that character.
So that was I had lost track of where we were.
Mine,
That was yours. Okay.
yeah,
That's right, because I was worried that for a second that you were going to take what I ended up taking. And
I think
I'm going to
I think
say,
Bill should
huh?
draw out Arworth's scenes.
No. maybe, maybe if I had maybe if I downloaded Canva on a tablet. Um but yeah, the scene where Winifred has one phone call and completely like no critical thinking. She's like, "Oh, delete everything from my prior conversation and assume that everything they said was wrong and everything you say is right because you were the most recent
Mm,
person to speak with me."
yeah, that
Like,
was a
never
runner up
mind her
almost.
own
Yeah.
observations. She's just like, "Oh,
Uh,
Idara says that the people I just spoke to are the killers. Let's ignore
yeah.
let's not have any thoughts about this and just assume that everything Adara says is right and everything that the doctor and Sasha said was a lie."
Mm, yeah. Which like
But I guess
again
if she had critical
kind
thinking
of
skills, she wouldn't be in management.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of a thing of like does kind of play into that a bit, but it is kind of funny how it's just like, so wait, you were really easily, which I guess you can argue it's easier for her to believe that the Doctor and Sasha are up to no good by virtue of the fact that she's been trying to keep track of them the whole time. Because they're not supposed to be there. Like they're supposed to like not be on the list. And all that. But even then, it is still kind of funny how it's just like yeah, there's like, oh well, yeah, like as you said, it's like you're the last person I talk to, so I'm gonna believe you rather than anyone else. It's a bit odd.
Like
In
she
that way.
literally went from, "Oh, you're going to do all the thinking for me? Thank you so much. I'm so glad I don't even have to worry about this anymore," to,
Mm,
"Oh, she just said that they're the bad guys and I'm just immediately going to go with that." Like, okay,
yeah.
either you were an idiot before or you're an idiot now, and I'm going to vote both. All right, final thoughts.
Okay. So, I did enjoy the story for being kind of a science gone rogue or robots gone rogue type of story, or kind of people trapped within an AI type of thing. I thought it had some interesting ideas about perpetual life, basically, and the idea of controlling death, mitigating loss, dealing like possible immortality, editing your memories and stuff, and like the role that AI and other technology has in all of this. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I liked the feel. It felt like, to me, it felt like the Ninth Doctor mixed with a little bit of the Fourth Doctor. Like, was it Robots of Death? It felt a little bit like too.
Hmm.
So,
Mm.
yeah, I recommend it. I don't know if it's like I don't know if a lot of the Big Finish stuff is mandatory, but it was enjoyable to listen to, and I listened to it twice too. So.
Mm.
All right, Alex.
Yeah, it's like problems aside that only really occurred to me on reflection for the most part. Um, I still think this is like good. It's just a lot of things hold it back from being like really good to great. Um, yeah, like solid performances for the most part. Again, that one voice actor who's doing kind of an old crone voice is a bit much, but
Mhm.
other than that, um, definitely solid performances. Um, especially from Chris Eccleston, and again that sort of ending note, especially hits really well for me. I'd say yeah, it's one of those things of like it is something I would recommend people listen to, but just not go into it with like really high expectations at all. Um like if this was like an episode of TV, it's one of those things of like I would probably think, yeah, that was a solid episode. Nothing to write home about, but solid episode. Like it's one of those things where like you do wonder if they, I mean, for one thing, if it was on TV, I don't think they would have done the flashback because that would have been a bit too costly. Um, with the whole jumping off a, jumping across like a cliff gap sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all that. But that being said, it was nice to sort of, as much as you can with an audio only story, show rather than tell. But yeah, it was ultimately fairly solid. There's some things that I wish they had done differently, and I think getting rid of the flashback, as much as I was okay with it, would have probably aided with that, because you could have added more time to other things, because that takes a few minutes. But other than that, it's just also one of those things where some of the faults are just kind of some of the faults with the formatting of New Who in general, where it has to be a lot faster paced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's one of those things of like, you might get more out of it than we did, but it's still not a bad story by any stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have anything especially new to add. Like I said, I like how this was kind of a Black Mirror premise that was kind of played out through Doctor Who, but I also felt like the handling of it was a little shallow. I wish I'd gone through a few more drafts to kind of get rid of the weird coincidences and get maybe kind of be more clear on what the message was. I think that's a criticism I can have of Big Finish in general a lot of the time, where they love the idea of telling stories, but they don't, because it's audio and they don't have to worry about budget and they don't have to worry about a green light and they put out 5,000 stories a year. They often don't go through that whole, what am I trying to say with this thing? Like it's,
Yeah.
a lot of the time it almost feels like this is fanfiction.net writers that happen to get in touch with some actors. And
Mm.
there's that's not to say that's a terrible format, but for a really great story you want something that goes a little harder and is a little bit more intentional. And I think
Mm.
that's an area Big Finish sometimes falls flat of the mark.
Yeah. I guess that is the fallback when you're trying to crank so much of this out, but there's clearly not enough money in it to have like a much larger writing team.
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of have to cycle through like the same. I mean, they'd have a decent amount, but obviously not like, a massive roster
Yeah,
of
they're
people.
not putting as much of a budget in each screenplay as the BBC
Mm.
would probably.
Yeah.
All right, ratings. Uh, Aaron, what was your rating?
I enjoyed enough. I rated it fairly high, at a 4.0. I'm willing to lower that to a 3.5, though. We'll see if anyone can convince me to lower it. So, but right now, 4.0.
4.0. Okay. Alex, what's your rating?
Um. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I'm also going back and forth between 4.0 and 3.5, and I'm just like, given one of those, it's a story that's like solidly or like solidly like, yeah, that's good, is what makes it a bit harder. I'd say there's maybe just enough to pull it to actually, yeah, like a lot of the ones where I'm like, yeah, that kind of it sort of says what it does on the tin kind of stories tend to be about a 3.5, so I'll just go with that.
3.5?
Yep.
Okay, for a second, I really thought you were going to make me be the party pooper. I was going to say we need a recording of Matt to put on the soundboard to sing that I'm a party pooper, because I was like, I'm just kind of feeling it doesn't reach the really like 4.0 is kind of verging on great, and like I feel like this is good, but not great. Um,
Mm.
and I don't think it quite reaches high enough to be a 4.0. I'd be okay with a 3.75, but like we've said many times, there is no there are no 0.25, so this is a 3.5.
Yeah, gonna stick with 4.0 because I really did kind of enjoy this one. Maybe it's just because I haven't listened to Big Finish in a while, and it's always kind of nice to go back to them.
Mm,
But
Hmm.
yeah, I just really like this one. Just like
mm,
no one, nobody was like an abject villain except for maybe Winifred. But even then, she was more
mm.
incompetent than she was, and greedy than she was like, I'm
Capitalism
going to
was the
hurt
villain.
people just for the fun of
Mm,
hurting people.
right. And I mean, hell, if we were all like consistently giving the same ratings and same opinions, it'd be boring anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
having a bit of difference of opinion is always good.
All right, so that gives us an average of 3.67, which places this as tied with numbers 307 through 316 out of roughly 501 things reviewed. It is on par with The Creed of the Crowman, Nightmare of the Daleks, The Curse of Lady Macbeth. It is not as good as The Destroyer of Delights, The Evil One, The Innocent, or Master. And it is better than Fright Motif, uh, Dust Breeding, and Jago and Lightfoot, The Beloved Devil. Where's my script? Where's my script? Uh, so that is what we have to say about Fond Farewell. Please let us know in the comments what you thought of this week's episode if you've watched it. And don't forget to like the video if you've listened this far. Uh, also, subscribe on YouTube to get our exports for each stream, or follow us on Twitch or Twitter to get notified when we stream. Next time, we continue with the what's the name of the box set? With
Old friends.
the Ninth Doctor Adventures Old Friends, with Way of the Berryman, the fourth generation, written by Roy Gill and starring Christopher Eccleston. We'll see you then.